Hello everyone, today I'd just like to give some commentary on my recent clear of Blue Revolver on Hyper mode using the Val ship type with the follow shot and the Hyper Laser as the special weapon. I really enjoyed going for the clear in this game, and it actually wasn't super difficult once I figured out a few things that I'll share with you to hopefully encourage you to go for your own clear of the Hyper mode for this game. The main things that I wanted to stress was that I found that the game became much more manageable when one was aware of the rank system and took steps to control it. And given the fact that this game gives you a copious amount of resources, in managing them and putting them towards rank control, it really makes the clear very manageable. So I'll explain some of this in Stage 1 since it's not too complicated. One quick note is that in Stage 1 you can get that break on the mid-boss by destroying the two turrets on the left and the right in quick succession, so that's what I do here. I don't go for breaks a lot in this game, but it does give you a point bonus that will help you get more score extends in the game. However, going for score also increases rank more, which makes the game harder obviously, so that's something to take into consideration. So back to just an explanation of rank. On the top bar, on the very top of the screen, you can see an orange bar that's ticking up. That is your rank, and it goes in 5 colors, I believe. Blue, green, yellow, orange, and red. And doing things and doing well in the game, such as scoring, will increase the rank as well as the rank just naturally building over time. And once it gets to red, which is the max rank, it'll slowly decrease. The only way to decrease rank, as far as I know, is to die in the game. And the game becomes a great deal easier once you get on once you are in the easier ranks. And so that's why it's typically, a good idea to save deaths or for difficult parts in the stages and in the boss battles. So, you can make the stages and the hardest parts of those stages easier. That was just a quick boss 1 or stage 1 boss kill. There's some boss strategies in this game that mostly revolve around bomb spamming. I guess you wouldn't call it a strategy, but the game rewards you so many resources that you can kind of pick and choose which bosses you want to fight more fairly and which ones you just want to not deal with. So stage 1 boss is pretty simple, so you don't really have to spam too much there. But I'll show you some examples of where I just didn't want to learn how to fight the boss, and this game does a pretty good job of being able to allow for that flexibility of picking and choosing which patterns and which bosses you'd like to fight, more officially or more fairly, I should say. So this is stage 2, by far my favorite stage in the game. It's just really pretty to look at. It's the harbor, or like the sea stage in the ocean. It's just a lot of really unique features. That's one thing about this game that's really awesome. It's just, for an indie game, it is superb as far as the visuals go. One, minor gripe I have, though, is that the bullet visibility can be a little difficult to see sometimes, which is why I had to use the alternate color palette that you might see here. There isn't too much to note about Stage 2 either. You can get a break on this ship if you kill the turrets before you kill its main part, but I didn't go for it just because I didn't want to increase my rank any further. You can see I'm still in rank 4, which is the orange rank, but it's slowly going to tick to rank 5. And when you're in rank 5, it's essentially the hardest the game is going to get. That's actually the hardest mode in the game is going through the entire game with rank fixed to 5, so it gives you an example of what you're contending with. And so the idea is once you get to rank 5, you just have to survive as much as you can, and hope that it decreases to the point where it goes back to rank 4, or you die. I should also say that you gain 2 bombs every time you die, and you don't lose your bomb stock, which is also very forgiving, and why I think this game is quite manageable for beginners wanting to get a taste of how to play shmups or these types of games. And it also, I mentioned this already, but it also emphasizes different things, whereas in a cave bullet hell game, it's more focused on just raw dodging and reflexes. In this game, like I said, if you just know what's coming and you know how to manage your resources, you can really, get by with not dodging everything. Look at what I'm doing here. Like, all I'm doing is spamming my hyper laser and bombing whenever I get into trouble, and that's really enough to deal with the stage 2 boss. When you bomb, actually, the bullet or the bomb cancels all bullets on the screen and gives you a recharge of your special meter, which is actually also how you kind of milk the bosses for more special meter that you can then use to kill it faster. And so the thing with the hyper laser is just that it kills things so quickly that it becomes really abusable. If you have a couple bombs in stock, you can really just expend all of your laser meter, bomb whenever you get in trouble, it refills your laser meter, and then you can continually just pummel the boss. And that becomes really apparent in the stage 4 boss in this replay. So this is the beginning of stage 3. It's also not too much to write home about on rank 4, although there's a couple of small things that I would point out. These enemies that come in clusters of 3, I killed them very fast there, but they'll come back. They're going to be a problem from this point forward, you can see those again, in stage 3, 4, and 5. So those are really the dangerous enemies that you kind of want to memorize when they show up on screen, because if they get to rank 5, they can shoot pretty quickly and sometimes be difficult to dodge, and the game will throw a lot of waves of those enemies at you moving forward, so you just have to be very careful of them. What else haven't I mentioned yet? Well, I think that's really all of the basics. The thing with scoring in this game is that you have a chain that builds a multiplier that goes up to 8, and if you kill an enemy with your special shot with an 8 chain, for instance, it squares that value, so it goes to times 64 on the point values for all the enemies you kill within a certain chain meter time period, and I believe your bomb also elongates that time period as well, so that's what goes into the scoring in this game. I don't really pay attention too much to the scoring, and I think if you don't really pay attention, it's kind of difficult to get the last score extend. You'll see that I barely miss it in this replay, but you can get 3 score extends pretty comfortably in this game, which is quite nice. Here is a stage 3 kind of mid-boss. It kind of reminds me of Mushi stage 3, where you're traversing the various parts of this giant boss that you eventually fight at the end. Here it's just a giant cargo ship. Much easier than the Mushi boss, I should say. Even at rank 4, you can see there's not really many bullets on the screen right now. Dismantling it piece by piece, I'm not quite sure if you have to kill all the pieces to get the extend, but essentially after you kill this ship, this cargo ship, then at the very center at the top of the screen, there'll be an extend. So that is the hidden extend of the game. In total, you can get 4 pretty comfortably in a normal run, and 5 if you're good enough to probably be able to clear hyper mode anyway. At least that's my impression. So, as you can tell, it's a fair amount of lives. I mean, in Cave, you get 1 less. If you're doing well, you get 2 score extends and 1 hidden extend usually. Here, you get way more than that. And in the highest difficulty mode, you actually get an unlimited number, depending on how well you score. So, in that sense, it really encourages you to go for score rather than survival, because those things are kind of tied together. Here is kind of a rush of the stage 3 section. You can see these clusters of 2 enemies at a time shoot really fast bullets. I think the general idea for the later parts of these stages is that you really want to be taking things out fast with your hyper laser. And the nice thing about it is that it just really delivers like a lot of damage in a concentrated shot, which kills things pretty fast and allows them to, or allows you to kill them before they populate the screen, flood the screen with bullets. You can see a percentage meter at the top here. This is a section of stage 3 where it counts the percentage of the number of enemies you kill, and if you get above 80%, you get a break. So that's one of the breaks of this game, or of this stage. You can see I got 91% there, so I'm going to get the break right now. Yeah, and also I got the 15 million score extend also. Now I'm at 5 lives, 2 bombs. You can see here that my rank has usually been orange or red the entire time I've been playing. But as the game goes on and we get to stages 4 and 5, it's going to it's going to drop as I die. So the stage 3 boss is kind of interesting because it's a bit small. I really hate this pattern, so I bomb it. It's kind of hard to slide through those red bullets. The thing with the hyper laser is that you have to kind of be precise about it. It's just a straight shot forward, right? So it's a bit hard to hit the boss when it's that small. You can see here that I didn't really do the greatest job of dodging that pattern, but I died. You can see now my rank is yellow. And of course, I was able to just speed kill that last section, or that last pattern with just the hyper laser, because it's just that good. I should also mention the option, or the follow shot type, is really busted in this game when compared to the others. It's just super strong, and so there's no reason not to use that. I think there are some arguments to be made about what special shot type you can use. I just picked hyper laser because it allowed me to kill things really fast, but I think that the follow shot type is definitely the best for Val, at least. These clusters of 3 enemies are things, or high priority targets for stage 4. You always want to kill them when you get the chance. Yeah, these debris fire suicide bullets. You get walled here. So you can see this is rank 3. This is the yellow rank, and already it's kind of giving me some problems with flooding the screen if I don't position my shots correctly. So that just goes to show how much more difficult the ranks 4 and 5 get. So now I'm in orange rank for stage 4. So yeah, it's definitely a place of the game, stage 4 and onwards, where the difficulty spikes considerably. One additional thing about this stage is that, well, I guess it'll get a bit harder to get special meter refills as the stage goes on. Stage 4 is actually not too bad in that regard. But stage 5 in particular, you have to be using your bombs effectively to recharge your special meter. If you're using them liberally, generally it's okay. The game gives you a lot of bombs. But nevertheless, it's something to be aware of. Typically, what you do is you kill the large enemies with your laser, right? But if you run out of special meter and you don't have any bombs, you're kind of screwed. You have to dodge everything purely. And sometimes that's just not feasible, or you don't have the reaction times. Here you can see an example of the hyper laser not being super good. You can see I'm just firing off to the left. It's kind of like missing continuously because I was forced into the corner there. That's kind of one of the issues, is that because it's so linear, you don't have an opportunity sometimes to use its power because of the fact that you're forced into a corner. I get the last score extend that I'm going to get in this replay there. The next one's at 50 million, which is quite a jump, and I'm just shy of that. But if you have an inkling for scoring, or if you want to learn some of it, you can count on that additional extent, if that's something you want to factor into clearing this game. Although, as I said before, if you're scoring the game, you've typically already gotten it clear. So this section is a bit difficult because a big enemy appears on the left here that fires massive waves of bullets, but for hyper laser you can just laser it once or twice and it'll die pretty quickly and allow you to then take on the enemies on the right. This section actually kind of reminds me of stage 4 in Esperate, where you're fighting the giant train on the right, and then you're fighting enemies or beetles that appear on the left at the same time, which is pretty cool. I think I noticed that a lot with this game. I can tell that it's made by... the developer is a huge fan of cave games, just because of all the little nods to stage design and how these stages work and how they compare to others. So this is the stage 4 boss, and the one that I'm talking about as far as just not having to deal with it. You can see that I just bomb, I refill my special meter, and I'm just lasering the crap out of the center. So you have to attack the center of the boss to do damage to it. I hate all of these patterns, they're just really difficult to dodge, so I just bomb as much as I can, and I just hyper laser. And you can see how fast I'm killing it too. I'm only really going to use 2 bombs here, and that's just enough to be able to not really have to dodge anything. This last pattern I decided to dodge because I'm in yellow rank, and it's pretty manageable at that level. You can see here it's kind of annoying because the green bullets are coming from the bottom, but if you just keep track of the red bullets in your peripheral vision, it's not too bad. Especially if I died. You know, I died beforehand, so I lowered the rank already, which made that last pattern manageable. So in all, I was able to lower the rank, and I also I used 2 bombs, and so I have 4 lives going to stage 5. Stage 5 is a doozy. It's incredibly long. The enemies are pretty difficult. You can see those guys lingering on the screen giving me trouble. And there are 4 mid-bosses. So yeah, it goes to show that if you want to clear this game in hyper mode, you really have to save all your resources for stage 5. And you're going to need them unless you get really good at routing it. The stage 4 mid-boss, or stage 5 first mid-boss is coming up here. This pattern is kind of annoying because of the fact that these green bullets kind of crawl across the screen after a certain point. I get pretty lucky in dodging it here. Usually I'm not quite as good at dodging it raw. This pattern is called Keyhole. It's really difficult. I should have bombed, but I thought I could do it. Even on rank 3, which is what I was fighting it at, it's pretty hard. Or sorry, maybe it wasn't rank 3 because I died. But regardless, like the Keyhole pattern is something that I would just recommend bombing, unless you're really good at dodging it. It's just really difficult to get through. I think that the first mid-boss is actually the hardest in this stage, though. So after that, you can see I died. I'm back at rank 3. And it makes the rest of, or at least this section of the stage, easier. You can see that there's more clusters of 3 large enemies that, as I mentioned in stage 4, you really want to prioritize, especially in stage 5. These large ships as well. I didn't have any special meter there, as you can see, so I needed to bomb to refill it. Thankfully, they flooded the screen with bullets, so I had a full recharge there. However, I could have routed this better because you can see I have an energy recharge here that I'm not using now. If I had survived that pattern, then I could have taken advantage, but I wasn't confident in dodging it. So you can get a break on this boss by killing the turrets that are firing from the left to right. But I kind of got walled and wasn't able to do that. And then the second phase of that pattern is destroying the little mini turrets on the top of that mid-boss. Because I bombed it, it kind of killed all of them anyway, so you didn't get to see it. But just be aware that it's not just a damage sponge, you have to kind of shoot precise parts of that stage 2, or stage 5 mid-boss 2. That was my biggest regret of the run. That was a really simple dodge that I just got a little nervous and died really unexpectedly. Thankfully, as I mentioned before, your bomb stock doesn't deplete when you die in this game, and you just get 2 added to your total, which really is nice because it makes deaths like that, which are random and kind of silly, a bit less punishing. But yeah, you can see here my rank is back to yellow because I died in that stupid way, which makes this section a bit more manageable. Although you can see the bullets are still being flooded on the screen. That's one thing that really surprised me about playing this game on hyper mode, is that the rank control and the number of resources you have all come to a head in stage 5 because of how long and drawn out this battle is. Stage 3 boss is usually pretty simple. You just have to deal with those 2 turrets that fire from left to right to left. If you're on the correct part of the screen, when the left turret fires, you'd ideally be on the right, and when the right fires, you'd ideally be on the left. However, I did that wrong, and so I had to bomb there. But thankfully, I had enough resources where I didn't have to pay for that mistake. There's more large enemies that you want to take out with the hyper laser as much as possible. The popcorn in this game also in this stage really floods the screen as well, so you want to make sure you're killing them. Thankfully, the shot type that I'm using makes it so I can aim my shots at them without being in the direct line of fire, which is really nice, and also a reason why this shot type really is the one that you should be using if you're a beginner, or if you want to be able to have something a bit easier. Bomb there gave me a nice recharge. I have 1 left, and this is the stage 4, or stage 5, mid-boss 4. Died really stupidly there on the pattern known as Voodoo, I believe. Yeah, just another kind of careless death. If I had bombed, or just been a little bit more liberal with my choice of hyper, I wouldn't have died there. But, as I said, still have a number of bombs, still have 2 lives. this is sort of the final rush going into the final boss. And at this point, I'm pretty comfortable because of having all these resources. I'm going to get another bomb before this boss appears as well, which is really nice. A little close there. Yeah, as I said, the popcorn does fire these floods of bullets, so you really have to be careful. Any small mistake or, being a bit too aggressive can lead to a death there. So here's the first phase of the final boss. It's really sometimes random how those green bullets shoot, so to be safe I use my bombs here until I find a lane that I can move through pretty comfortably. I have a lot of failed runs where I die on this pattern, so I was just very careful with how I approached it. You can see here that the final boss actually has a counter bomb, so bombs do not hurt the boss, and it also is invincible for the same amount of time you're invincible. So the bombs are only really good for getting you out of sticky situations. You're not going to be able to kill the boss with the bomb. This second pattern is pretty manageable even at rank 4. You can see here that you just have to weave through those green bullets while paying attention to the ones that the boss shoots. The hyper laser also does damage to it, so only the boss is only immune to the bomb. So if you can line up the hyper laser, you can kind of speed kill some patterns that you're uncomfortable with, like the phase 3 pattern, which I didn't really mention. This is the 4th pattern. It's kind of like a callback to the Aki fight in Mushi, which is kind of cool with these kind of flower patterns. I apologize if I don't know if there are any more references or if the Mushi pattern is also a reference to something, but that's how I know it. It's a simple enough pattern, you can actually kill the flowers that come out of that 4th pattern. This is the 5th pattern, called Filibuster. I can read on the top right there. The green arrows that it shoots are actually destroyable and build your chain, and it makes this pattern much easier. This is the final pattern. It's kind of like a callback, at least I think of it like an Espluta pattern, because you kind of have to raw dodge it for a good majority of its time on screen, and it gets more difficult as the pattern progresses. As the pattern progresses, the boss becomes more vulnerable and your shots do more damage. But the beginning, you're not doing much damage at all, you're just trying to dodge it. But because I have an extra life there, I can die, the pattern becomes easier because the rank is lowered, and then I can just sit in the middle and laser it for the kill, which is really nice about this final boss. So the general conclusion to the final boss is that if you can make it to the last pattern without, or with an extra life, it's really manageable, just using a basic strategy like that. So all things considered, I really enjoyed Blue Revolver, and the hyper mode was really interesting because it kind of introduced me to a number of topics that I haven't encountered as much in playing shmups like cave games, for instance, where rank control was a big factor, and the fact that you can kind of change your experience with the game depending on where you choose to bomb and where you die really makes Blue Revolver kind of a really refreshing experience for me. So this was just some of my thoughts on how to get the hyper clear. Yeah, I really think it's quite manageable. I think that it allows for more freedom of expression and how you want to approach it than some of the other games that are designed for arcades that are a bit more stringent. So that being said, yeah, thanks for watching. Appreciate it, and yeah, have a good one.